Welcome to the upstreamlife.com. I'm your founder and editor, Vishal Krishna. Today I have with me Akash Sinha, the CEO and co-founder of Cashfree Payments. Cashfree is a leading payment service provider. In this podcast, you'll enjoy how India is changing with payments and how payments is enabling easy checkout experiences and empowering you to transact more and for businesses to sell more and become part of the internet economy in the smartphone generation. Akash, thank you for talking to us at the Upstream Life. I've always heard of Cashfree. I've never got the time to meet them, but finally I make time, and thank you for giving us time. Payments, fintech, India is on the cusp of a revolution. It's been for a few years now, and it's telling the world that we've done some wonderful things. Cashfree is a leading company. But I want to start with the history. You started off as a developer, correct? Talk about those early days before you landed up as CEO and co-founder of Cashfree.
Sure, and thank you, Vishal, for having me here. See, we are in the 9th year of this business, right? We started back in 2015. Before that, I was working as a software engineer at Amazon. And Amazon is a great company, right? They give you a lot of ownership, even though you're working in a role of engineering. And there I get good exposure about business, metrics, numbers, and which made me very curious. Right? I already gained a lot of skill at my school about how to build product, how to, build scalable system. But Amazon, I got the other part about business, right? Like how to track your, say, customer footfall, conversion and all. So those are skills I got while working at Amazon. And back in 2015, I think, there's a good entrepreneurial, a lot of startups are happening in India. Yes. And I was always curious about what more I can do in my life. How can I, contribute better? And I met my co-founder, Riju, in that year through a mutual friend. We both started to brainstorm about, what are the, challenges in the economy, internet economy. And we always faced a lot of problems ourselves around payments, right? Cash on delivery payments, online ordering, right? We started researching more about it, talked to a lot of businesses who were doing business online, offline, discussed with them. We met more than 300 businesses, within the span of 2 months. We signed up a lot of offline customers initially with our product. And slowly we started, as we started to talk more, started to meet more people, we got exposure to larger problem, right? And we came to believe that payments still has a lot of scope of improvement. That we figured out, yes, there are a lot of companies, in this space for last 10 years, but we felt they're not taking a lot of product first or tech first approach, right? I think they built a product, they're good at distributing it. They're not thinking beyond it. They're not trying to, we used to say in Amazon, raise the bar. Right, they're pretty happy with the status quo. They are like, whenever there's a behavior change, they're able to comply it, but they're not the first ones to push the behavior change in the market, right? They're not trying to make it better from their side, right? Once someone goes and asks to them, I need this flow, they'll go and build it. But they're never the ones who will, come up with the right flows and go and sell to the market, right? So the approach was, more like what a service industry would follow, right? I mean, where I can understand, your requirement, come back and build it, rather than what product companies do. They'll understand the customer insight, market insight, and try to make sense from the data, even though it's not structured, and come up with the right product which can go out, and solve the use case and the problem. Yes. So that was the, smaller difference back then, right? We coming from the background where we had a good sense of customer need, their problem, and also had the ability to build the right solution for it.
You said something wonderful, two things in fact. You said, one is understanding the problems of the internet economy. Correct. And secondly, thinking like a product company where you met 300 businesses.
Right.
Two key essential aspects of anybody building a product.
Correct.
I want to start off with the engineering thing, which is closer to you. And you said, a lot of people want to market things after they build it and they forget their customer along the way. Mm-hmm. Right? How do you stay true to your purpose that we as a product company, we have to build flows that are of great experience, that are really solving the customer's pain points. Mm-hmm. How do you stay true to that and not think of the marketing game in the early days?
Yeah, I think the fundamental way to think it, first to establish a market, right? The market is anyone selling, any product, service through internet, right? You start with that market. Then you start classifying that market with kinds of businesses who are there. Someone could be a small business, just having 10 people running the show. Someone could be having 50, someone could be having 100. That is, one sort of classification. Second is what kind of, customers they are serving to. The customers, for a few of them, could be from metro cities, tier 2 cities, rural cities, right? And then you start understanding, the product service I have built, are they accessible to them? Second is, are they able to use my product service in the best way or not, right? And third is, if my product and services are solving most of their payment problems or not. Right? Once you start, putting this in front of you, and every day you will come back and see, what better I could do in either of three buckets, then you start coming with new ideas, right? And you can always build conviction over the time once your ideas start to, become successful.
Absolutely.
And once you do that, you'll have both business success and also your relevance in the market would continue to go up because you're able to solve more problems. You're able to show more care to the users compared to someone else, in the same space.
No, well said. The other question that I asked you was about solving for India's internet economy. Not many people realize the jump that India's made in terms of the internet economy, and there's still more to be solved, right? And like you were telling me earlier when we were having coffee, that if we solve the payments issue, imagine the number of people who'd come online and transact, would just keep growing. What was the problem back in 15 to now? What was the problem that we solved in 15 to say 2020? And then COVID, everybody wanted to digitize. And so what's the problem today? But what are also the wins along the way? I think the wins were we built great startups such as yourselves. You discovered new customers, businesses went online. But what do you think is the transition from 15 to 2024? I think it's been significant in India, right? It is going to last generations.
Correct. See, there are two major problems. It was twofold. One, we didn't have enough payment solutions which can go after all the payment problems businesses were facing, right? Because, the sizes were small, a lot of internet businesses were new. The second is, even though there were few solutions which existed, they are not in the best shape, right? Compared to, say, global peers, right? The experience was not that great. The accessibility was not that high. Even the iteration quality of improvement was not that fast enough, right? So these were two larger problems which existed back then. Right now, we have been able to bring solutions to most of the payment problems out there, but still we have to go long way in improving the experience around the solution, and also making sure this experience is available to all kinds of merchants out there. That we still have a long way to go, right? Continue to improve the payment experience to make it much more easier. Right? Imagine, a large company, right? Someone who's having a engineering team of 300 to 400 people and someone who can hire payment expert easily. So those guys can end up building great payment experience for their customers. But if you're a small business, doesn't have access to large engineering team, doesn't have, like good guys in product who have a strong product insight, your experience might be poor. Right? But our idea has been, let's build the tools, like let's build the kind of solution so that even those guys are able to give very first class experience to their customers when they are, using payments on their platform. Right. So this was the difference back then, right? Back in 2015, very, very few guys could come up with a great payment processing solution, great conversion for their customers, and others were lagging behind. And that was also impacting their business, impacting the, delight of their customer and overall the revenue growth.
Okay. Give me a color in terms of, don't name the company.
Yeah.
Name the early, like you mentioned with those examples of large companies giving great payment experiences, but the small companies could not. Now you bridge that gap, right?
Yes.
Not many people realize that Cashfree white labels a lot of these solutions, right? So how did those experiences change in the early days compared to large companies? Now smaller companies also, like you said, small merchants, I was talking to you about the shoes, they offer great experiences too. How was that possible? Can you, without naming customer, give us a color?
One of the example I could give is the checkout experience, right?
Okay,
Back in
yes.
2015, 2016, if you're building a large e-commerce company, you had access of so more than 15 engineers are just working on payment experience. Right, so they could show you whenever there is a downtown on certain bank, they can show you, what, this card of this bank is not working, try another card, so the conversion would be faster and there would be less frustration for the customer. Right, a lot of these large companies were able to source offers from the bank. Right, if you use XYZ cards EMI, then I'll give you 10% discount. Right, third would more about offering all the payment methods which are popular. Right, customers today say they downloaded a new BNPL app. But if they don't see it on your website, then they would not be very happy about it, right? And the conversion may not happen, right? But right now, Cashfree has built a, like next-gen checkout page, right? Which can, which is able to offer all the information. If there's any downtime, if there's an offer, if there is a new payment method, we integrate all of it. So that my end merchant doesn't have to be worried about it, right? They'll just plug my APIs into their system. As soon as customer wants to pay, they'll see Cashfree powered checkout page. And they'll have the similar kind of experience which they're having with any large big tech e-commerce or big tech, any internet commerce company. So the difference is almost zero now.
Okay.
Now the competition from this smaller businesses and the anyone who has a scale team is largely on the product and their core customer experience rather than just about payments.
Okay, let's now let's talk about the current 2024.
Correct.
we've seen, India has come a long way. Regulations. I've seen, papers exchange, with the RBI and the RBI coming back. There are complaints and there's some, and the press talks about it. Some things are aggrandized, some things are negatively portrayed. But the beauty is that payments are here to stay. India is going to be digitized, right? So what are we fighting about? So this is here to stay, isn't it?
Payments has become an essential service, for internet economy to grow.
Yes.
Right, but at the same time, someone has to take the role of continue growing the size of digital payments ecosystem and the market, and secondly, make this entire ecosystem more safer, more secure,
and accessible,
and less surprising.
Less surprising. Well said.
So it's both, right? You make it large, you make it accessible, and then you make it, trusted, compliant, and less surprising, so that people have more trust and conviction to continue to using it. Right? We don't want this growth to be falling down after a few years, because people are not, feeling extremely safe of using that. And we have seen such kind of ups and downs with many industries across the world.
It's interesting. In many ways, we have to be thankful for this, because the aspiration levels of India, I was telling you, I was traveling to the north of India, and how people are accessing products like they've never done before. Consumption is obviously on the rise for many years now, but especially since 17, 18, the mushrooming of Indian brands with the promise of a global experience, it's phenomenal. It would have not been possible without great payment experiences, right? Partly, do you think it's because of the retail economy's growth that even payments have grown?
I think it's a good flywheel.
Yeah.
I think both of them are interlinked.
Yeah.
Right? On one side, you're able to increase the supply on the internet, and second side, you're able to push the demand, on the internet. And with the growth of UPI, growth of, say, internet, growth of the smartphone, and we're able to, increase the demand. Right now, there are enough number of mobile shoppers who can go to online, go to any merchant website. And these are also digitally literate guys, right? Which was not the case 10 years back. 10 years back, only a very small portion of, Indian consumer would know how to use a laptop, computer, and do anything internet. And that's why you would see a lot of, smaller, the cyber cafes who can even book tickets on your behalf, who can, make your reservation. Right now, you don't, need them. You can go to download any app. As a consumer, I can, select my origin destination and book ticket myself. I don't need those guys to do internet work on my behalf. So that has changed a lot.
Brilliantly said. So the youth are working like that.
Yeah, the generation gap, people are, people know how to use internet, for whatever needs they have, right? Few are pro, few are less pro, but they are not, and the reason for it is there's a lot of, good internet apps which they have been, using for a while, even on day-to-day life, right? If you're comfortable using WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Google search, then you can use any kind of internet commerce app, right, to buy anything online, or even to sell anything online, right? That literacy has penetrated pretty well in Indian societies. And that is showing up right now with the people who can buy things on internet. At the same time, this is forcing and pushing more people to start selling on internet.
Very interesting. So sticking with the youth of India itself, when you build special products, for your customers, do you keep yourself that the ultimate customer of that customer is your target audience?
True. That's how we have been able to come up with a lot of industry-first product, right? I can take few examples.
Please.
Right, we were the first company in India to launch pre-authorization on cards. Right, we used to work with travel companies, and when the travel company told me they see more than 40% cancellation on the same day of ticket booking.
Yes.
Right, and previously the customers had to wait for 7 to 10 days just to get the money back. Right, suppose and back in those days, Indians didn't have a lot of money in the savings account. Suppose you only have 10,000 rupees, you booked a flight of for 5,000 rupees. Now for some reason you cancelled it. And if you have to wait for 10 more days to get the 5,000 rupees back, it means you have to, again, limit your expenditure for next 10 days. It was a real difficult problem.
I have faced this problem as a young journalist who has not paid very much.
Yeah.
I did face this problem where I got my ticket money back 1 month later.
Yeah, it was
and it was a problem.
Uncertain, right? That's why we came with pre-auth solution. You don't debit the customer's account, you just block money into their account. If they cancel it, you release the block and they get money instantly. And we are the first, and this solution became pretty popular. And now it is becoming norm in a lot of these industries, right? Similar to it, we also launched instant refund, right? If anyone is canceling the product service, you refund them instantly. Don't make them wait for again 7 to 10 days, right? So we built product like instant refund on payment gateway. We built Cashfree, so it can also instantly refund the COD orders that you have returned.
It's interesting. So, okay.
The third thing is more around the, around the getting money from the business, right? Suppose, you have been diligent in paying insurance premiums on time, but when it comes to claim, it takes days for you to get the claim in your account, right? So there we come with a solution called payouts, and insurance company can disperse claims within seconds to even thousands of their customers by using our API and solution. So such solutions we have built to make sure end customer life becomes much easier, much convenient, and they would want to use digital payments more and more, right? That is the ultimate goal. Our job is not to just to serve the existing pie, right? We also have responsibility of increasing the pie by building the solutions which encourage more and more people to try digitally.
It's brilliant. So you're saying that you don't change user behavior by forcing a product down the throat. You change user behavior with what they're used to, but making it easier.
Correct. I mean, there is expectation in the market even right now, but there is a gap, right? They have certain expectation, but what they're receiving is below their expectation. Now you build something which is either matching the expectation or increasing or doing it better than what they're expecting, right? So automatically it will increase, the experience level, the delight, and there would be more frequency of usage of the product or service you are building there.
Okay. Let's stick to tech because we talked about business. Not many people realize this insurance problem that you talked about is also a data problem when you're building the tech, right? You have to firstly know who the payer is, how the payer pays this out, how the delay is reduced. No problem. How do you reduce the delay of it could be 7 days payout could be now reduced to 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. It's also called prior authorization in insurance, right? Right. Globally, they call it prior authorization, but in India, they don't. I don't know what they call it. So insurance is a good business to talk about why you're a tech-led company. So when you sign up a client, like an insurance business, what is a typical problem that they have? Do they come and say, hey, we want to make sure that our customers are wowed with our payment experience, our checkout claim experience, right? That's what they say, that we have complained. And usually insurance companies have this problem, thousands of phone calls saying I bought this insurance. Yes, claim.
A lot of them, they approve the claim, but money doesn't reach on time.
Absolutely.
See, the companies we work with have three major problems. One is around premium collection and sign up, right? There also sometimes there is a delay from the customer, right? So these guys want to set up recurring premium collection. So rather than making you pay once in a year, I can collect money from you every month, right? So that it doesn't become a burdensome on you. So there we go and give a recurring payment solution, and the premium,
absolutely
acceptance happens on time. Second is on the claim part. Claim has two, like specific areas. One is actually processing the claim, and second is verifying who is getting the claim, right? They have to make sure the guy who has paid the premium is the one who is getting the claim. So we also, built a tool called verification service through which you can verify the bank account and owner of the bank account before even dispersing claim to their account. And all of these things are very digital, right? Once you've decided that I'm going to give 50,000 claim to say Vishal, then Cashfree can make this journey, possible within minutes. Right? As soon as you decide I want to pay, you can verify his bank account, say within seconds. You'll make sure the name of the account is Vishal, and then another 10 seconds you disperse the money to that guy's account.
This is fascinating because I still buy LIC, right? I do e-Nudge in paper. I have to give authorization. I don't want to do that. But you're saying it's gone online today in many places.
It is online. So you can even do it through UPI.
That's right? Because UPI of my agent. They show up with this form. Right. But you're right. It's changed, right? User behavior.
There's a good transition in the market, right? And the companies are trying to adopt a way which is easier for their customers to follow.
And this brings what? Like you says, it solves the accessibility problem. Yeah. It empowers them because there's money.
Makes the journey simpler.
Yes.
Makes the journey, stress-free, right? And it will encourage them to try it more. See, even though you build a great product and service, if it is not easily accessible, you will get lesser customers. That's the fact of any business that you build out. Even you are, say in a transport business, we are giving, cab to people. But if you want someone to walk 1 kilometer to the nearest, stop just to get a cab, people don't use that. Yes. Even though you are giving them very nice cab.
So solving the digital journey is very important. How customers behave, simpler steps.
Overall purchase experience.
Yes, purchase experience.
Yes, purchase experience has to be, short, sweet, and extremely delightful.
Yeah, not 3-4 steps.
And you have to understand, a lot of people don't want to willingly spend the money, right? Right, there are two areas people spend money, right? One is on their needs. Second is, something they want to enjoy. Right?
Payments are so interlinked. For example, I have a problem of surfing for guitars, okay? And the guitar companies' apps have become so clever that they always link the notification to a checkout experience and not the guitar's description experience. Right. It's very interesting how payments have been entrenched into everything. They realize that, this guy will probably know about the product, and then we now have to nudge him to buy.
True, and that's why we also have innovated a lot. Right? Suppose, someone is putting ad on Instagram. Now, when you click on buy now, you will be, opening a page inside Instagram. Now, how do you make sure the purchase experience inside Instagram browser is smooth and there is no drop off? And that is where you have to very aware about the attention time. Right? If you if you make a checkout experience in a way that it takes 50 seconds for me to complete my checkout on Instagram, there will be a drop off.
Yes.
But if you can make it just 10 seconds, there are two advantages. One is like you are getting a sale. Second is your ad revenue is, being paid out in a good way. Otherwise, you are paying for ad.
Yes.
Still, you are unable to get conversion despite there's an intent from the customer, right? So if you're selling on internet, as soon as there's intent for the user, you don't waste time there, right? You make sure everything gets finished within 10 seconds. And that's where, we have a great checkout product. There's a company we acquired last year called Ecom360 who has built great checkout solution for D2C merchants. And we are seeing great conversion,
Okay.
for any merchant who uses that product.
You being an engineer, do you tell your engineers, most engineers are great at engineering, right? They're product led.
Yeah.
But when it comes to understanding a consumer, many engineers lack the skills. Do you actually tell your engineers that, look, this is how you think? Do you sit with them and say that, look, go out, meet customers?
Two ways to do it. One is if you're a user of your own product, then you just have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer and see what is best for you, what kind of experience you want, right? And that will tell you what to be, what is something you should build. Second is if you're not a customer of your product, which can happen in many cases. Second, you can, do research. You can have enough empathy where you can understand someone else's problem, right? Suppose you are building a product for someone, say, who's going to apply for a loan, right? And maybe if you have never applied for a loan yet, but still you can, try to talk to them and understand what they could be thinking when they're applying for a loan. Like if I'm a person who is in need of money, then what kind of process I can afford to follow. If I start thinking like that, then obviously I'll get the right ideas which can help me build the best kind of experience for any kind of user which are out there.
Yeah, today, for me, talking about customers itself, right? And the best experience comes from the retailers, of course, the D2C guys. The old banks, I don't see any experience from them. I get notifications that I'm really not interested in. According to you, what industries really push boundaries in terms of linking payments to the messaging and narrative that they have to capture that intent? Which industry has done very well according to you in India?
I think e-commerce, hyperlocal, travel, they've done pretty well.
They've done pretty well, yes.
Because there's a lot of competition on the internet, right? You are not the only guy who's selling that product and service. There are 10 other guys who are selling the product, right?
So you have to think more.
Exactly. And you have to make sure as soon as there's an intent to buy from you, you make sure the entire journey ends as soon as possible.
What do you think about the old school retailers, the automotive guys? What do you think they could do better, just in terms of this?
Maybe the ones for selling offline?
Oh, yeah, the ones who are selling offline, but they want to digitize, right? Today you know how all the car specs online. I don't know why they haven't integrated payments.
They have done the payment integration. See, there are multiple reasons, right? And that industry, the ticket size is fairly large. Right? The industry is also pretty loan driven. Right? You don't use your own money to make the payment.
Again, goes back to the old guys.
Yeah, but they can do a lot of, like automation around insurance renewal.
Yes,
a lot of these
absolutely.
guys sell insurance. A lot of these guys do maintenance, and they don't have to make it difficult for you to, avail those services, right? You don't have to call them and say, nudge them when the insurance is expiring. You have their history. You offer them, this is the new price, and I already have your card on file. I can go and buy on your behalf if you're okay. I just have to say yes on the phone. And
absolutely. Again, making it simpler.
You don't have to send a payment link again, ask you to fill a form, and that is where these guys lose. Yes. Right, and that is where they don't get a lot of renewal automatically.
Healthcare. What do you think about healthcare? Where's that industry heading in terms of payments?
Healthcare, I think there is an online pharmacy industry. Then there is a doctor appointment.
Yes.
There's an overall lab test.
Yes, that's still early days. There.
Yeah, early days. I think they are very good. I think the deliveries and all. Similarly, what e-commerce companies have been going through.
So what curve would you see? I mean, next 5-6 years for you, what industries would really catch up?
I think financial services are pretty fast, right? I think there is a big demand. There's a huge gap in what customers are looking for, what is there out there. Like investment industry, which is also going through its own, growth. Right? If there's a growth in prosperity in the economy, obviously your wealth creation opportunities will also go up, right? So that industry will going to go up.
And what does data tell you? Tier 2 India, Tier 3 India getting into digital payments in a big way? Any particular, again, services, consumer services, a lot more there? Fintech, D2C kind of services?
Yeah, I think, in metro cities, a lot of these things have been saturated. If you see growth of e-commerce, I think metro cities, they have saturated completely.
Yes.
Right? If the target is a customer should buy 3 times in a month, it's happening. Right? So now they have to go to Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, and these guys are not very savvy. Right? So a lot of these guys, maybe using a card which has lesser limit. Right? In metro cities, I'll have credit limit. My card will have daily limit 50,000 rupees. They'll have credit limit 7,000 rupees. So you have to think harder. How do you make sure they still buy from you, even though they don't have a higher limit? Right? And a lot of these guys, might be earning lesser. So if you don't offer them EMI, if you don't offer them split payments, then they'll also have, hesitancy in buying from you.
You know,
So you have to.
yes, and you're right about the hesitancy, right? I mean, consumers, I found people in north of India, especially the wholesalers, selling in the south.
Yeah.
It's interesting how they can make B2B payments through you guys as well.
Correct.
Right?
And we even have B2B BNPL. If you're purchasing other business, right? If you also want to pay in parts, then we can give you like loan at the time of purchase itself. It's called B2B BNPL, which is working pretty well. Right? If I'm buying, say, packaging material in wholesale, like 1,000 of products, and my ticket size 1 lakh rupees, and I don't have money to pay 1 lakh right now. And see, a lot of B2B transactions anyway happen on credit, right? A B2B rarely happens on, like cash and carry model.
Absolutely.
Right? But now during the time of transaction, you can, apply for the loan, we'll approve within 24 hours. The purchase will happen and you can pay us in next 12 to 14 months, right? Doesn't have to pay everything single shot.
Sticking with that wholesaler question, right? Imagine you said that you make it easier for businesses to make it simpler for customers.
Correct.
So sticking to that, say, let's look at, I know the organized businesses will do very well. Say a large wholesaler, sticking to that question that I asked previously, say if he's a 100 crore wholesaler or something, can he integrate these kind of payments? Because there's always a bank that he does payments with, but with you guys, it's much more seamless. He can manage payroll and everything, right? So you want to give us a color of how India is changing from that perspective?
Sure, right. I mean, previously, a lot of this B2B service provider, right? A lot of their transactions used to happen offline.
Correct.
Right? They are one of the latest category business to come to this, internet world where they're able to find new kinds of customer, right? New kinds of buyer. And they also want to, have the entire operation just done there. Like, you don't want customers to be just noting down your number and again do everything offline, right? There you lose scale, right? Suppose you are a wholesale provider of packaging material, right? You could have customers from across the India. Right now, there are a lot of, say, there's plethora of D2C businesses out there, right? And these D2C guys need packaging material, right? So how do you make sure you are accessible after all these D2C, businesses by being a packaging provider, right? And how do you want to make sure that the entire, transaction happens just on your website rather than talking to you, your team, right? Haggling with you, right? I mean, no one likes to doing that right now. So a lot of these guys also putting the entire process online. They're integrating the right payments partner where the entire, purchase journey could happen online. And we are also helping in multiple ways because B2B buyers pays differently, right? They don't pay using their, traditional debit card, UPI. Either they are going to pay through your corporate credit card, they're going to pay through net banking, or they're going to pay through some sort of BNPL thing, right? Where they can choose to pay later. So their, preference of payments are different. And that is why making it very convenient for them to make high ticket transaction. Right? If a corporate card suppose 20 lakh limit, you can make payment of 20 lakh in one shot, or you can pay by internet banking. We have done integration with corporate, portal of these banks, right? Compared to what regular consumers use a retail portal, right?
Yes.
We also have been offering B2B BNPL where you don't have to pay everything in a lump sum. You can split the payment into like 3 parts, 6 parts, and then make the purchase, complete there and there itself. So that's how B2B business can scale. Right, if you go to the traditional method where you have to talk to each customers independently, right, share codes, it takes a lot of time and you lose scale.
And the operations, you save costs on the operations, right, by doing this?
Operations, then you're getting more sales, right? That is what you care about. You're getting more sales, more reach, right? You will get a lot of repeat orders if you're able to do that. And you're building trust with the customers, right? I mean,
okay, where are we in a tipping point of this? When I look at a lot of consultants' numbers, especially the consulting companies put out numbers. They say that 50 million businesses in India. I want your thoughts as a business. Now that you've been around for a while, almost 10 years, I'd like to know what are the real numbers in India? How many businesses really out there? Customers, we know there are 1.4 billion customers in India, and I'm sure that it's young still, right? It's 27 or 28 today. How many businesses will get digitized? Or how much have been digitized? Any numbers there?
See, I mean, majority of businesses in India is still offline, and because retail sale still account for more than 94-95% of the market, right?
That's the truth.
That will be traditional, right? The number is more than 50 to 55 million, right? You have a bunch of smaller and larger offline shops, offline service centers, and that is taking us a major part of the economy, which is again not very different from what you see in other, like developed countries, right? So not very off. It's just that internet economy size is growing, right? It's not eating up into your offline economy. It's like it's adding new kind of value, which was not possible to do it in offline manner, right? Say like if you're running a cab service company, there's no need for you to even do it offline. Or if you're done it offline, you won't have any customer. A lot of this business has suited for online business, and that's why they're creating new value. And that is where we see growth in economy, right? Growth in economy won't happen just by changing the medium. Right? If you're selling, shoes offline, if you start selling to online, right, there's no change in the economy, right? You still have the same amount of revenue, right? But if you're able to sell it both places, then only there would be growth in the, economy and growth in the value you're producing.
It's an interesting thought process. I was just looking. Let's look at shoes in India, right? I mean, there's Indian traditional shoes that they make. There's a whole supply chain to it. The question I'm asking is that entire chain can be integrated, right? If they want it, right? It starts off with the leather procurement people who are large. Some of them are 100 crore businesses. Then they supply to the factories that make the shoes, then the brands, right? It can happen, right? Today you can have seamless payments.
It's happening. I'm sure there would be a lot of ERP companies who are trying to bring all the stakeholders as part of single platform.
Yeah.
They're also integrating payments in their tool.
So would you sell to these?
Yeah, we go and partner with such companies who are building software for such industries. We already work with companies who have built things for smaller businesses, like who's built for freelancers. We have companies who are building things for pharmacies. Right. So, and recently we did a big launch of the product called embedded payments. The idea is whatever software you're building for businesses, you can embed payments in a very simple, seamless way. And you don't have to worry about compliance or anything difficult that you don't know about.
Yeah, or neither do you need a tech team.
You don't even need tech team, right? It's just a very simple, SDK integration you go to in your tool, and you can add payments in any part of the journey, right? Be it like you are paying out to the vendor, you can use Cashfree, or you have to collect money from the consumer, you can use Cashfree there. So embedded payments is a very powerful proposition. The idea is to make any such ERP system more functional, and make it more like an end-to-end transaction generation system in itself, rather than like doing something on the ERP and the rest of the thing outside of ERP. In that case, you don't get to see the entire data.
Okay, Akash, a lot of people would say that there's enough to be solved in India. We don't want to look at foreign markets, but I do think there is a case for foreign markets and the way they're evolving. Because again, going back to your point, you want to make payments simpler.
Yeah.
Right, and the mediums may change, but it has to be simple, right? Any thoughts on your expansion globally?
I think the idea has always been how do we make payments simple, cost-effective, accessible, and also improve the experience. Right, we have been doing that in India for last year.
Correct.
And recently we started looking after geographies, right? Geographies which are also going through similar digitization spree, where we are seeing growth in internet businesses, also growth in demand to purchase things online. Right, so we have ventured into Middle East like a couple of years back. We have put a stake in a company, and very soon we are going to have our own in-house operations in those geographies and expand from there. Like the focus would be on the developing markets, the markets which have behaved similar to India, or which are also having a similar kind of focus on digitization, fintech growth, the kind of India has done. And India is a great role model for a lot of these countries, right?
Yes.
Given that fintech has seen humongous success here, a lot of these countries want to emulate such kind of success back to their home country, and we're in the right place to go with the products that we've built here, take to those markets and give the similar value which we have been able to give in India.
Okay, now I want to get back to your life as CEO.
Yeah.
The transition you made, coming back to my first question, you made that transition. As CEO, biggest function is managing the sales organization, right? And how tough was that for you being a techie who's so process driven? Sales can be a little daunting. So talk about that challenge, or did you look at that as an opportunity? How did you fare?
See, when you're starting up, right, you have to do all the functions yourself at least once in your journey, right? You can't delegate these things initially. Actually, both the founders did sales for more than 2 years, right? We met more customers, like more than 1,000 customers, offline, online. We went through our own process. When you build something, you start with certain kind of ego. Then you start becoming humble by getting the real feedback, right?
Yes.
So you go through the entire process, and then only you can understand how to sell your product in the best way possible, right? So everyone has to go through a journey to see some success, right? You can't delegate this process from day one, and you will learn by doing it.
That is so
obviously
well said.
There will be some discomfort zone you have to get into, but there's no way around. Right?
What was the biggest discomfort for you as an engineer? You said early days you guys met 300 people, right? And you said there was that level of ego as an engineer, you'd know something. What is that ego that you had to subdue?
Engineering job is pretty predictable, right? If you're able to do things correctly, you will get the right output. Right? When it comes to sales, there are people involved. Right? There is no blueprint you can follow. Right? You always have to think on the fly, right? And problems are different. There are situations which are different. So it's not like your sale will always happen just because you have a good product. Right? That doesn't happen all the time. Yes, you need a good product, but you also need a right timing. You also need the right pitch because attention is very limited. And that makes you, much more creative when you want to sell to, different kinds of people out there, right? And people have different preferences, different choices. So there is a variation. It's a very difficult function to run, right? Sales is not an easy job.
Correct. Look, I don't know, next question, would you agree with me or not? So you have as a CEO a certain thought towards sales. There is this thought that certain CEOs would like people to be their type of clones. Are you a guy who believes that? Or would you say that, look, I like people who make the customer understand the product better, and that is the first easy way to sell, and that's what you like? What are you?
I think the primary job of sales would be, I'd say, three major parts, right? One is like telling a customer how can product solve their business problem. Second is taking them through the entire purchase journey, right? I mean, it's not enough just to tell how product can add value. You also tell them how can you get onboarded on the product. And third is about any future releases that are coming in the product, right? So that you keep the excitement high, right? And then after you leave it as a customer to decide if they're going to buy it or not, right? Because as a salesperson, I've done my job, right? I've been pretty truthful in telling them how my product can add value. I have taken them to entire process journey, right? I also told them what more could be in their product, and what kind of service they can get, right? I believe if you focus on the right inputs, then that is, like good enough. You don't have to be obsessed about the outcome, like unreasonably.
Got
it. You focus on the, as I said, right pitch, and things work out. Yes, you need some sort of, like pursuance, right? I mean, you have to, keep pushing people, but at the same time, it's not fully in our control. That's why this job is not fully predictable.
Absolutely. Leading a 10-member team, the people say that when you have a 10-member team, that's when it defines you as a leader. Today, you have hundreds of people where you've delegated roles. That change happened quite fast.
Correct.
Right? And that takes your time, effort. How do you detach saying that, look, I've delegated, but founders, when I say founders, that when you own a baby or a company, you want to take ownership of every particular instant of it, right? How do you delegate and say that, okay, I'm going to be detached now?
See, it has been a gradual process, right? It's not like we started to delegate all the functions from day one, right? We started delegating few functions, and that's why we got leaders in a gradual way, right? Initially, we wanted to solve for sales, we got leaders for that. Then we get into finance, then we went into product, and that's how we gradually transition. Company,
okay,
right? And now we are pretty much goal-based. We do the annual planning, we do quarterly planning, we decide what are the major problems for the company we want to solve. We give goals to them. They also give goals to the people who are below them.
Wow.
And that's how everyone, are aligned with, what company is trying to do, right? I mean, we follow that, top line, way of the goal setting and all. And then we get a lot of ideas, from bottoms up, right?
Okay.
Where people believe these problems can be solved by doing these things.
Absolutely.
Then we make part of the company goal. Let's go and say, the onboarding experience is bad, right? This is the feedback we'll get. Now we'll set a goal
or the customer service
onboarding experience.
Correct.
Exactly, right? How do we make it much more friendlier for the customer? And then that's how they pursue the goal. We review the progress on the goals on monthly basis, quarterly basis, and that's we as a company.
That's how you transition. That's great. So, my question to you again is managing tech. Coming back, it's your favorite subject. Talent in India. There's 2 million engineers that come out every time, and they say that 200,000 engineers are top notch, right? There's a war for talent in India between the MNCs that come in and startups, right? How do you reference these engineers in India today? I mean, because this question is largely to those who want to join you, right? Yeah. What are some of the challenging engineering topics that they get? A lot of people, as a podcaster who's here, I hear this term, Gen AI, all the time. Everybody wants to bandy that term around. But what is an engineer that you truly require at Cashfree?
I think there are largely two kinds of engineers out there. One who are really passionate about the technology. You know what, I want to work on this technology no matter what is the outcome. There are different kinds of engineers who are obsessed about the business problem they are solving. Right? And for a starting, you need a mix of both, right? Someone who also a bit obsessed about technology, who can get the power of technology to build the best product. And also they have to be slightly obsessed about the problem the company is trying to solve. Then only their job would be much more gratifying, right? They can bring it better context to the problem because you need, why of what you're doing eventually.
Yes.
For initially 2-3 years of a career, you can, make sure you are getting better as an engineer. But after that, you also want to, give value back to the society, back to the people that you're working for. And that's why you see a lot of engineers have been moving away from US market, coming back to India market.
For the challenge.
Because they don't see enough gratification by building for US customer, US market, because I can't relate with them personally. But if I'm building something for Indian society, I can relate with it, right? Because I know my family members would be using it.
This kind of thing, yeah.
My friends would be using it. So it's more gratifying if you're, building something which is again used by Indian users.
Okay, you said certain technologies that they like, right? What if somebody came and said the Gen AI term again? I know large language
Changes
models.
every year. When we
That's what I'm
started
saying.
up, right? There was a lot of like passion about the how do I say it, like UX engine or say
Yeah,
backend system.
big data.
Yeah, big data and things like I want to use Spring, I want to use certain like React framework. It has been changing
Yes.
everywhere. Now people are more focusing on intelligence, right? So Gen AI, ML, right? This is hot because we believe a lot of things around automation have been solved. Those infrastructures are set. Now, how do we make system more intelligent? How do I make system, do more on behalf of me? And that is where, intelligence plays a much bigger role, right? I don't have to go and tell it or train it all
Yeah,
time.
don't want to build code from scratch again.
Because then you can't handle enough flows, right? End of the day, you are solving a lot of if-else problem, right? If this situation happens, then what should I do, right? It's not possible for you to code system for all the possible if-elses, right? You may miss out on something, and that is where intelligence can help you come back with the right answers, even though you don't have the full knowledge of the data.
Okay. Do the fintechs, the challenge is, payments once commoditized, right? Once you have X number of business that you in, and it'll happen. Do you see AI adding value, saying that, okay, you've been a customer with us in the past, so let's check you out immediately. Those kind of things would happen. Or my question is, how would payments evolve?
See, payments...
With tech.
Yeah, payments is an infrastructure service.
Yes.
Payments is essentially infrastructure.
Yes.
Right. It's not any kind of, you don't need a lot of personalization in payments. To be able to build the infrastructure which is as real. It's like roads, right?
Absolutely.
Right. As long as you're able to build enough roads.
And as long as there's more traffic flowing in, yes.
Right. And that is where you win. But there are other parts, payments can use AI for the auxiliary services they use, right? One is largely handling customer query,
loans,
detecting fraud, detecting, any kind of, abuse. So that is where you're also using intelligence, right? Because we process, like humongous number of transactions.
So security would be a big
Exactly.
thing.
We need to make sure which of these transactions are fraudulent or not. That is where you use lot more intelligence in flagging those out as soon as possible.
Any early experiments in security that you're doing?
We did this product called Risk Shield. We launched it later part of last year.
Is it a paid product? Or
It's a paid product, but we are running a lot of free trial. But it can detect more than 90% of like fraud transactions on behalf of you.
Okay.
Right. So we have piloted it very well. We have a lot of paying customers right now. We are using it for both our payment collection product and payment dispersal product.
Okay.
So it has been live for both the products and working out well. It gives a lot of comfort for you as a business, right? Suppose you are you're processing insurance claims, same example, right? And tomorrow your system gets hacked. Now someone is trying to, like pay to someone who's not even your customer. So our system can detect it, right? We'll see, what, you as a business has been a history of paying 40,000 on an average. But today I saw transactions of 2 lakh rupees, right? Which is not natural to you as a business, right? I'm going to block it. And that's how I'm saving money for you, right? If you're using Cashfree for your payment dispersal.
It's interesting. I didn't even look at it from this angle. So today's security, payment frauds can happen.
Yeah.
You think bots can come in and create, say, dispatches of product, fake dispatches, get them to dispatch it, but there's no payment made and all that. All that can happen.
Yeah, if you have enough data, but I think what we're coming at is the payment dispersal, payment collection. Right? We look at the industry, we look at the profile of the business. Let's say a business never disperses money on Sunday, right? If they're dispersing on Sunday, which means it is off. It's not something which is natural to you. So we understand you with the data you have given to us, and then you decide on real time whether something belongs to you or not. And that is where intelligence plays a bigger role.
Okay. Well, what is that product called again?
Risk Shield.
Risk Shield, right?
Is the product that
so it's out in the market?
It is out in the market for last 6 months.
So that's the value add beyond the commoditization that can happen in the future. Those kind of things.
It makes payments,
much more interesting.
It's more reliable. You don't have to, always watch your back. You don't always have to be stressed that something can go wrong, right? And there's a probability things would go wrong, right? But at the same time, you need tools to catch it before it, creates a damage for you.
What about the quality of the talent in security? How do you handle people?
Talent is pretty good, as I said, right? But given that Indian market is changing so fast, there's a lot of technological growth, advancement happening. You have to keep training the people.
Do you train when you're hired?
We do a lot of mentoring. We also, let them go and do courses on their own.
Okay,
right?
interesting.
And they can learn. And they learn a lot of things on the job, right? We give them a challenging problem. And to solve it, they have to learn about new technologies, once in a while.
Akash, do you spend time with technologies now? Now that you're also on the business side, what are your favorite technologies in 11 versus now, and how different are they? Let's not take Gen AI, maybe something else.
Pretty far, not pretty close to it. I have knowledge of what the technology does, but I don't know how it works or how do I use it, right? It's been a while that I have didn't code myself.
It's been a while since you
It's
coded.
been a while, I think, more than 4 to 5 years, I think.
Do you miss it?
Yes or no?
It's like writing, right?
Yes or no? Yeah,
It's like it's like you're writing and you stopped writing. Do you feel?
Yes or no? I mean, right now I have bigger goals to chase.
Yeah.
Right. We have to
Yeah, the
make
business
company more
goals,
successful,
absolutely.
build more product, get into more areas.
Okay. Any particular technologies that you want to talk about which students are watching? That like you said, you can work on any technology, but what are some things that you want them to focus on?
I think most of the new guys should focus on fundamental technology to start with, right? Because if you don't have grip on fundamental technology, then anything which is of higher order, won't be easy for you to understand.
And the fundamental technology is still Java and all of that.
Standard ones, you start with basic programming language, you build a small app, a small system. You don't have to jump to intelligence right away.
Okay, Python.
Intelligence is a way to improve quality of your service rather than a service in itself.
Okay, should they practice Python and R?
Whatever language they are comfortable with, all the languages have good value outcome, right? But you have to understand that language in a much deeper way, and then it's easy for you to switch the language.
Okay. And the other thing for budding entrepreneurs out there, you said when you're building a product, you also have to understand the cost of the technology. It's not the people, but it's also the infrastructure. Right? Would you want to comment on that? Is it because of the cloud will inherently be expensive?
I mean, as you scale as a business, right, majority good part of your cost would be the cost of the data or infrastructure you're using, right?
Yes.
And if you are not using it in an efficient way, then your cost would balloon up. Because as you grow as a business, right, your margins are going to be eroded, and you have to work on thinner margin. And for that, you need to cost extremely efficient. You can't use infrastructure as your luxury, right? And we have seen a lot of examples, right, where people are paying 5 times more than what they should pay.
Yeah, and they don't even know about it. And they don't even know about it.
People are detached, right? Sometimes they don't care how tech team is using the budget.
Yes.
Right? They don't ask the right question, and they believe everything is justified.
Yes.
Right? So there's a lot of disconnect in the businesses who don't have good tech insight, and it comes pretty late in their stage.
In the life cycle,
it can come after 15 years, and then they have to start shutting down things, and which impact their business.
Yeah.
Right? It's good to be aware about such like cost from day one, so that you can focus on it.
And it's either the knowledge is out there, actually, you can access it.
More about the focus, more about the awareness.
Yes.
Right? How to keep the cost low.
Okay.
Lucky for us, I think, coming from tech background,
It has helped you guys.
I've been aware like how to keep the cost low, and that is the guidance. I believe it can be,
Yes,
like reduced
it is a
cost
game
as we
changer.
scale.
No, yeah. My final two questions. One is, where do you see, like 10 years, we were discussing earlier, India 10 years ago is very different from what it is in 2024. What are the changes that you see in 6 years? It is digitization, of course. What are some of the aspects that you want to focus?
See, digitization story has got on its track.
Yes.
Right. We don't have to accelerate. It is going to be accelerated because there is a good demand out there. Right. A lot of generation shift has been happening. Right. New generation is the one who believes in faster gratification. So your product and service have to be, like aligned to that idea. Right. If you're unable to give faster gratification, then people won't be happy. Right. And you also have to be accurate. So there is a lot of care about the experience, accuracy, gratification out there. So basically bar is higher, right? You can't, you can't be lousy, you can't give a, basic service and expect to grow as a business, right? So you have to make things very polished, right? Make it, you have to deliver what you promised, right? And that is the era.
No, I hope it happens, and I think it's going to happen. My final question, you've obviously you would have learned so much in the last 14 years. There must be inspirations that made you build this. Okay, what were your inspirations on the business side and the personal side? It could be books, music, art. It could be people also.
Books, I read fiction.
You can talk about it.
I'm not kind of person who spends things which are, like scientific and all. I mean, those things, we read as part of the job, but I like reading fiction.
What are you reading? Or what did you read that inspired?
Recently, I read this book, Cain and Abel. Right? It's by Jeffrey Archer.
Jeffrey Archer, very good book.
Pretty nice book. Right, I
Very
enjoyed it. Yeah, pretty thick book. It took me a while to finish it. But fictions again open up your creativity like anything else, right? I mean, you can live that story, right? And you go through a lot of situations that you may not end up seeing in real life, right? It also creates a lot of if-else scenario in your mind. You know how to, even though you have never seen it, right? It gives you a certain idea, right? And it's refreshing, right? And you can be more focused on your business if you do such thing, and that helps me.
That's so true. I mean, fiction builds imagination.
Exactly.
And it gives you the leeway to think in the real world.
Because you're able to think of scenarios that you won't encounter in real life.
Yes.
Right? And if you have to, and that helps you create empathy with the people. If you're able to, live that creative world inside your mind.
I'm going to go back to Cain and Abel. The last time I read it was 99.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it must have been interesting even back then.
it is. And as a 19-year-old, I enjoyed it. But I met Jeffrey Archer
Oh, nice.
after that. But he said something very funny to me, and I'm going to ask you that question. He said, "Hey, Vishal, do you know what Marshall Proust, the author, said?" I said, "What?" Because I was getting a Marshall Proust book autographed by Jeffrey Archer. And he said, Marshall Proust apparently said, "We all end up doing what we are second best at." Do you think you ended up doing what you're second best
No,
at?
no, I don't think so. I'm doing what I'm best at.
Very good. Good to know. So that's pretty much sets the context that Cashfree is going to grow. All the best to you as CEO, and we'd like to catch up with you again soon.
Sure. Thank you very much.